All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you to everyone who is here this afternoon for this critical milestone in our effort to continue pursuing a comprehensive approach to public safety in Baltimore. I want to thank all of our partners who are here today: Council President Mosby, Councilman Stokes, Delegate Young, Commissioner Worley, Fire Chief Wallace is here, Director Mavronis, the Deputy State's Attorney Tom Donnelly, Uncle T. Where's Uncle T? We had a little discussion about Uncle T, what we were going to call him today behind we came out, and all of our partners that you see here today. I want to thank our host, Kelly Sparks, with the Sons of Phoenix. Let's give them a big round of applause. They are a community moral voice partner with our group violence reduction strategy, and we thank them again for hosting. Around us, we have a whole manner of people who are fully dedicated to making Baltimore safer, from law enforcement to staff and elected officials to members of the community violence intervention ecosystem and neighborhood partners, because I've made it clear from the beginning of my administration that public safety was our number one focus and that we would be approaching public safety in the right way, learning from the mistakes of the past and also building it collectively with the community. As you all know, when I took office, Baltimore had been grappling with more than 300 homicides every year since the Freddie Gray unrest. And we have made significant progress in that time, thanks to nearly 3 years of hard work and commitment to our holistic, evidence-based public safety strategy represented by the people standing with me today. Homicides and non-fatal shootings were down 20% and 8% respectively in 2023. And as of today, we are building on top of that historic reduction in Baltimore City, dropping homicides by another 32.9%. And a 20.4% in non-fatal shootings. Now, we acknowledge that it's progress, but know that we have a long way to go, and together is how we're going to get there. We're on a mission to maintain that momentum and continue to see progress in driving down violence in Baltimore. And to that end, we're here to do two things today. First, to introduce the biennial update of the Comprehensive Violence Prevention Plan, and second, announce the latest expansion of the Group Violence Reduction Strategy. In 2021, I released Baltimore's first ever Comprehensive Violence Prevention Plan and tasked the newly formed Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety Engagement, known as MONSE, to lead this work with the understanding that while law enforcement are a critical part of the effort to reduce violence, the full weight of public safety cannot and should not fall solely on the shoulders of police. When we announced the plan, I set the goal of achieving a 15% reduction in homicides with the full implementation of the strategy. Back then when I did that, my staff almost fainted and a lot of people laughed. But last year, we didn't only just hit that benchmark, we did it and more. We did something that Baltimore had never done before. We saw a 20% reduction, which is the largest ever. And as we've already said, so far this year, we're even beating that. These reductions are a testament to the tireless efforts and dedication of the team at MONSE, the women and men of BPD, our community violence intervention staff, our hospitals, our anchor institutions, partners in the justice system, and the state's attorney and the attorney general and the U.S. attorney, and most importantly, community-based organizations working on the ground to build a safer Baltimore. Everyone here and so many more across the city have been crucial partners in our work to build safer communities and address violence as a public health issue. And we still have so much more work to do. It is not yet enough. It will never be enough until we do not lose a single one of our neighbors to violence. During my State of the City address last month, I said we had to double down on our approach. Baltimore approach, not Brandon Scott's, Baltimore's approach, not pull back from what we know is working or return to the failed, broken ways of the past. We must continue to build on our momentum, and that's what these two announcements today are about. We're continuing to lay out the roadmap for sustainable violence reduction in Baltimore, which can continue to save lives and change communities for the better. To quickly touch on GVRS, officially expanded our grouping violence reduction strategy into the Eastern District. Councilman Stokes, I know you are happy about that, sir. This is a strategy that we know is working in other areas of the city, leveraging the strong partnerships between MONSE, BPD, the State's Attorney's Office, along with the Attorney General, Public Safety and Corrections, ATF, DEA, Baltimore School Police, DGS, and other government partners, service providers, and community moral voice partners, residents working to stem violence in their communities, to hone in on the individuals identified as being the highest at risk for involvement in group violence. We offer them a choice directly in a letter from me. Put down the guns, and we will help you change your life and get you back on track. But if you choose to ignore that, then you will feel the full weight of law enforcement. I was speaking with our partners from ROCA before we came out today and telling them about a story. I was just down the street at the UA house at my son's basketball game, and a young man walked up to me and said, "Mr. Mayor, I have to show you something." And he showed me a picture of his letter that he got from me. And I said to him, "Are you ready? Do you want us to help you?" He says, "No, I'm good. Once I got the letter, I went to ROCA. I signed up." That's the impact that we want to have, because we don't want to. We don't want to send people to jail. I specifically, in any way that I can, want to avoid incarcerating other black men. But what I'm also not going to do is allow you to continue to harm people and bring harm and disrupt and cause trauma and pain and loss of life in our communities. So again, the message is very clear. We will give you every single chance to change your life, but that choice is up to you. If you don't, you will feel the full weight of law enforcement. GVRS is effective because it goes after those responsible for driving the majority of violence in our city and inflicting harm upon our communities and life out of our streets. Since launching the strategy in January 2022, as of last Monday, April 15th, across the Western, Southwestern, and Central Police District, we have enrolled 156 participants in life-changing services to help them step away from the life. For those that refuse to do so and perpetuate violence in our communities and continue to do that, to be involved in group activity, we've made 256 arrests, including 184 arrests made by BPD's group violence unit. It is hard to overstate just how life-changing and effective this strategy has been. I hope that everyone thinks and takes a moment to think about the impact for those 156 individuals who've taken us up on our offer of services, how important that is for them, their families, their neighborhoods, and our entire city. Strategies like this have been tried in Baltimore in the past, but typically they lack the follow-through or any real support for the services. It was only about the public safety side. They offered the opportunity for someone to change their life without providing that real pathway. And this time we're getting it right. And you can see the buy-in represented here in the community. And we know this works. We can see the impact with our own eyes, but we know thanks to our academic research partners at UPenn who released an initial study, we're seeing results that no one can deny. These efforts to expand are critically important to bringing this strategy to every part of the city, but we want to be cautiously optimistic and ensure we're expanding in a sustainable way. And I think we've accomplished that and will continue to do so. One of the reasons this has failed in the past is that they move too quickly. GVRS is just a part of the strategy, however. A significant portion of my administration's efforts, particularly those in MONSE, has been doing the hard work of building systems, infrastructure, and policies that will continue to deliver on our shared commitment to public safety and establish a roadmap for sustainable improvement. That is what you will see in this update to the Comprehensive Violence Prevention Plan. This update shares our work to date, and because good strategy leaves room for adjustment, this update also is a chance for us to refine our approach, address emerging public safety trends, and set goals as we continue to expand and strengthen our work moving forward. This update is actually required by the establishing legislation that I passed as city council president, and it reflects a good governance approach that ensures we're establishing benchmarks, goals, and consistently adjusting where we need to be to meet the things that we want to achieve. In addition to the 3 pillars outlined in the original plan, this update includes for the first time a specific youth justice pillar born out of Deputy Mayor DeRosa's Youth Violence Reduction Work Group. My administration spoke with government partners, community stakeholders, young people themselves to develop a strong set of recommendations that will continue to prioritize the safety and well-being of Baltimore's young people. These include adopting proven community-based solutions to reduce youth arrests, augmenting and connecting violence intervention and prevention programs for school-age young people, and implementing agency-level changes to shift long-term youth outcomes. I want to be clear that the work is ongoing. When we announced the plan in 2021, it was the first time Baltimore had developed a 5-year strategy designed to address violence in its totality. Where previously there had been disjointed, narrow-focused strategies, we now have a plan that looks at the complete picture of Baltimore. This is not overnight work. All of us in here know that, but we collectively are making a difference. I encourage all of Baltimore to read the update, which you can find at baltimorecity.gov/CVPP Update 2024. I'll say that again, baltimorecity.gov/CVPP Update 2024. And you can also submit your feedback online at bit.ly/biennial BIENNIAL update feedback form. You can hit it, and that's very easy to do. Building a safer city is not a spectator sport. It does and will continue to take each and every one of us. You have my word as mayor, but more importantly, as a son of Baltimore, who grew up experiencing the good, bad, and the ugly when it came to the crime fight in our city, that we will never rest in our effort to address the violence that have plagued our communities and do that the right way. We will continue to do the hard, daily work of saving lives of our neighbors, loved ones, and fellow Baltimoreans through prevention and constitutional, community-centered policing. We will do it the right way, alongside law enforcement, who now is more than ever committed to serving Baltimore's residents the way they should have been serving all along. Our city, our neighbors, our young people deserve nothing less. And thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Council President Mosby.
I thought we were here to talk about good news. Can we give a huge round of applause for all the folks that stand behind us collectively? First and foremost, I would be remiss if I did not shout out Chairman Robert Stokes. This year, for the first time in the budget cycle, Mr. Mayor, we will not hear Chairman Stokes pound his fists on the desk talking about the importance of moving GVRS to East Baltimore, because he's been excited about all the gains that he's seen in West Baltimore. And I think that that's a testament to his leadership. Because we've seen progress in East Baltimore without GVRS. And Chairman Stokes told the administration it wasn't good enough, that we want GVRS to come to East Baltimore. I want it in my district, and I'm not going to stop yelling and screaming it until it's there. And I would like to thank this mayor, as well as the administration, for delivering on that promise that they've told us last year. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the team for delivering on that promise and bringing and expanding GVRS to East Baltimore. The reality is, for a kid who grew up in Northeast Baltimore as city council president and another young man who grew up in Northwest Baltimore as the mayor, the reality is crime has become normalized to us. It's nothing to know of a cousin or friend who have lost their life to the streets of Baltimore. There's nothing to know an aunt or a neighbor that lost their son to the streets of Baltimore. The reality is, what we would always hear and say is, crime is just a way of life in Baltimore City. Well, the collective group that stands before you today is a proven a connection of folks to say that crime must and can be reduced in a responsible and sustainable manner. That's why we stand here after these 3 years. 3 years of transparency, and it's shown our city that, again, we're capable of terms and ensure that crime is reduced responsibly, but also sustainably by utilizing our resources and community collaborations, with competent individuals that are connected to our communities like Uncle T. Our public safety priority challenges are always changing. They're always evolving, and those who wish to bring harm on our communities, they have the ability of changing their strategies every single day. And what's critically important for all of us collectively is that we're not only reactive, but also proactive, ensuring that we get to our young folks before they commit a crime, ensuring that we get to our young folks before they increase the level of crime in which they are involved with. And that's exactly what the strategies that have been employed over the past 3 years have done and shown sustainable results. And that's exactly what we have to continue to double down on. I am so deeply proud of the biennial update in the CVPR that include, for the first time, a specific youth justice pillar, focused on uplifting the safety of Baltimore's young while investing in their future, allowing them to understand and know that we can provide them pathways and trajectories for success, and showing it with real resources and real results, not just window talk. I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. Our violence prevention and our public safety starts with addressing the challenges at our young folks, going after things like the school to prison pipeline, identifying those red flags, identifying our young folks in those trajectories to create more violence, and ensuring that we eradicate it. So opportunities like this, and the ones that we'll talk about and hear from our friends like Uncle T and the commissioner, that's why we stand here today, because we know that it works, and we know that we can be accountable to delivering it to the citizens of Baltimore. Again, the normalization of crime in our communities can and must be eradicated, and it starts with partnership and collaboration and ensuring we get to our children before they create additional havoc or harm to our communities. With that, I have the amazing opportunity of turning it over to Police Commissioner Worley.
Thank you, Council President Mosby and Mayor Scott. As we work together to build the foundation for long-term public safety in Baltimore, the BPD remains committed to the comprehensive violence prevention plan. While building on this holistic prevention strategy, we also recognize that law enforcement is just one piece of the puzzle. We are prioritizing trust and relationship building by investing in such initiatives as community violence intervention, victim services, group violence reduction strategy, and other community-based programs. These strategies allow our officers to spend more time investigating the high-level crimes, creates more time for officers to spend in the community, building community engagement, and it frees up officers to implement other initiatives. In partnership with MONSE and alignment with the requirements in the consent decree, the BPD is working to create neighborhood policing plans that address the challenges identified by the residents in the community in which they live. This is a direct response to the resident request to have more input into the decisions that impact public safety in their communities. As for the group violence reduction strategy, we all know that it works and it's still working. Since launching in the Western District, GVRS has become the city's leading strategy in reducing shootings and homicides. We are achieving greater reductions in gun violence, and we keep those at the highest risk safe and alive. I'm pleased that we now have moved to the Eastern District, and I remain optimistic they will continue to scale up and expand across the city. BPD's Group Violence Unit is dedicated to decreasing violence in the city, improving outcomes for members of the community, and strengthening relationships between the department and its citizens. This is a collaboration between our department, Mayor Scott, MONSE, the state's attorney's office, our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, social service providers, and community members, as they all collaborate to reach who most want to be part of the solution and provide them with pathways away from the life of crime. Through GVRS and people-based strategies, our officers go out every day to focus their enforcement efforts on those closest to the violence. Every person needs and deserves to be safe. We are here to reach those who want to be a part of the solution. Those that don't, we will, if you don't want to take the services, or if you simply continue to commit violence, we will be the final outcome for you. So with that, I will turn it over to MONSE Director Stefanie Mavronis. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Worley. MONSE is grateful for the continued partnership and commitment of BPD to comprehensive evidence-based strategies like the group violence reduction strategy that makes our city safer. Good afternoon, all. My name is Stefanie Mavronis. I serve as the Director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. As many of you know, MONSE was born out of Mayor Scott's vision to reimagine public safety. With a bold mission in mind, this agency was founded in December of 2020 and is tasked with overseeing the implementation of Baltimore's first ever comprehensive violence prevention plan. This strategy is about approaching violence like the public health crisis that it is, and understanding that no one agency could be single-handedly responsible for building a safer Baltimore. We knew it would take the whole weight of Baltimore, all city agencies, all government partners, and a collaborative of community-based and community-serving organizations like the ones you see represented here today, rallying behind it to be successful. MONSE serves as a connector, an implementer, accountability partner, helping to oversee the success of the strategies laid out in this comprehensive plan. This work is made possible through partnerships with agencies and organizations like BPD, the State's Attorney's Office, the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, Baltimore City Rec and Parks, the Department of Juvenile Services, Roca YAP, LifeBridge Health, Catholic Charities, and so many others. Like any good plan, implementation of the goals outlined in the original CVIP has not been without its challenges. Yet, we've been able to navigate them and stay on course with this plan as a guiding document. This biennial update has given us a chance to come back to the plan at the halfway mark, to not only take stock of how far we've come in the first 2+ years of implementation, but to also recenter, revise, and re-strategize and add on new goals that will allow us to continue prioritizing the safety of all Baltimoreans. While much work lies ahead, it's important that we reflect on just how far we've come in a relatively short amount of time. Since the Comprehensive Violence Prevention Plan was released in June 2021, we've piloted and expanded GVRS, which as of last week now covers the Western, Southwestern, Central, and Eastern districts. We've supported Safe Streets Baltimore and our frontline workforce as they conducted 1,443 mediations in 2023, and created new opportunities to professionalize community violence intervention work. We've awarded over 50 contracts totaling more than $16 million to organizations to create, expand, and strengthen the ecosystem of violence prevention, intervention, rehabilitation, and reentry. We've launched Sidestep, a pre-arrest youth diversion strategy originally created by young people in West Baltimore. We've expanded the definition of victim to include gunshot survivors, as well as those impacted by violence and trauma indirectly. We've built an in-house victim services team, which has filled critical gaps and served 375 individuals last fiscal year alone. We've launched the Returning Citizens Behind the Wall initiative and Safe Return Planning, starting reentry planning prior to release and helping Baltimoreans successfully reenter society. We've expanded community policing initiatives. We've created a coordinated neighborhood stabilization response protocol to support residents following traumatic events in their communities. And we've funded several external evaluations of programs like Safe Streets and GVRS to ensure accountability and program integrity. These evaluations have also demonstrated the impact of the mayor's dual gun violence prevention strategies, CVI and GVRS. The University of Pennsylvania's Crime and Justice Policy Lab found that GVRS is associated with a 25% cumulative reduction in homicides and non-fatal shootings, as well as a 33% reduction in carjackings in the Western District over the first 18 months of implementation, with no commensurate increase in arrest or displacement of crime to other areas. Additionally, an analysis of Safe Streets Baltimore by Dr. Daniel Webster at Johns Hopkins University found that for every dollar we spend on the program, we save anywhere between $7 and $19, depending on the method used to estimate the cost of shootings prevented by the program. There's much more I could add to this list about the great work our team and partners across the city are doing to co-produce public safety, but we must also keep our attention on the work ahead. Work is already underway on the commitments laid out in the newly created Youth Justice and Violence Reduction Pillar, guided by a strong vision and framework thanks to the hard work and dedication of Deputy Mayor Dr. Letitia DeRaza, agency partners, and most importantly, Baltimore's young people. This updated plan also includes the work to come in the remaining 2 years. That includes expanding GVRS into the Southern District by the end of this calendar year, launching school-based violence intervention programming at the start of the 2024-25 school year, expanding sidestep youth diversion citywide, strengthening strategic coordination across Baltimore's community violence intervention ecosystem, establishing a victim services case management work group with city agencies and community-based providers to close gaps for survivors of violence, their families, and communities, and continuing to evaluate key programs, both internally and externally, just to name a few. Much work lies ahead, and we stand ready and eager to continue making progress and show what more years of painstaking focus, commitment, and comprehensive public safety strategies can yield for the city of Baltimore. As the mayor said, we want to hear from Baltimore on how we can continue to improve this work and build on the gains we've made driving down homicides and non-fatal shootings and doing the work of preventing and intervening in violence. We invite you to read the full biennial update online and submit your feedback on our website. This work takes everyone, and while it's important that it has a home in local government, it starts on the ground. Our grassroots partnerships are what make this comprehensive, holistic approach work. With that, it's my pleasure to turn it over to one of our fantastic community partners, Terry Williams, better known as Uncle T, from Challenge2Change. Thank you.
I said to myself, I don't know what convinced the mayor to put me in front of this mic. And I know he's saying, don't fumble that ball. But I truly want to, first and foremost, don't look for me to be politically correct up here, but I will say this. First and foremost, I give praise and honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who's head of my life and bishop of my soul. I dare not stand up here and not mention his name. But I truly want to say that the work is, is definitely take a collective effort. No man is an island. I always say that if one snowflake fall from the sky, it would dissipate. But if it fall collectively and consistently, it can shut down a government. And I believe that's what you see behind me, snowflakes that is determined to do that. And I just know I went over those pages diligently, committed myself to going over MONSE, and I am telling you, the Mayor Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement is just that. If y'all would take y'all time out to really read that over, line for line, and really pick it apart. And so I know that collectively we can do it. Dr. Bundy, I said collectively we can do it. Because again, no one is an island. If you try to do it alone, you will find yourself alone. And I am a product of those streets. Thank God that I understand that transformation truly do exist. I gave that prison system 25 years of my life and lost my son to the streets of violence. Had to go on the scene and say a hole in my baby boy's head. And so I operate from a different place when it comes down to helping our youth. I know that they can never fall too low, that collectively we can reach down and pick them up. If we operate from this place of love, because we can't punish them all the time into greatness. We got to love them into greatness. I said, no, that deserves a clap. I said we got to love them into greatness. So I am honored. I am honored to be up here with all these distinguished individuals. I dropped out in the 5th grade, never returned back to public school, but while in prison, I ended up getting my high school diploma at age 38. And a few credits to Allegheny College. So I know that the situation is fixable. No one can tell me little woo-woo and bobo can't be fixed. They can be fixed. But what are we willing to do to fix it? And that Challenge2Change, we spell love, T-I-M-E. Why do we spell it that way? Because it's the time we spend with them that will make the difference. That's love. My wife knows about that, right, babe? I spend time with my baby. And we just got to be transparent and real here. Because we Baltimore, be more, we can be more. If we really put our heart, soul, and everything into this. And this year, we're going to have an even lower murder reduction rate. We're going to see it go down. Why? Because we are committed to the cause. And I believe that many of us that's real serious about this, we laying our lives on the line to prove that point. What greater love that one can show that he laid down his life for his brother? Now, I ain't one start preaching up here, but I definitely want to thank you, man. I definitely want to thank the mayor because that MONSE, the Mayor Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, all those words, pick them apart. We know we targeting our neighborhoods. And we know that we have to keep our neighborhoods safe. And we know we got to engage the children. I was talking to the commissioner prior to coming in here, and I say, what would you say some of the most important things to you in looking at this situation from out the lens of violence? We could curb it. And he said, it starts in the home. It starts in the home. But what happened when the home is in disarray? You know how we say it take a village to raise a child? But what if the village is retarded? What you think it's going to produce? And so it is so essential. It is so essential that we work together collectively, taking all these bright and sharp and educated minds. I said in my last conference that these guys behind me got so many more degrees than a thermometer. And I'm sitting up here trying, you know what I mean, just pouring out my heart, but I know they got my back. What I can't fix, I know they got me. You know, because again, we can't do everything. I just play my part, stay in my lane. But I tell you, if we continue to love up on these kids, man, we will see the difference. And with that being said, I'll close out saying what the mayor said, we need Lottie, Dottie, and everybody on this one here to see a better summer.
Thank you, Uncle T. We knew exactly what we were doing when we had you. Take the mic, so you can say things that I can't say. But we can't, and I won't overstate, and you can't really understate the impact that organizations like Challenge2Change, like We Are Us, like Safe Streets, like Tinder, everybody you see represented here, what impact they are having on our communities. When everyone else is gone, when things get tough and things get too hot and tempers flare, they go to those incidents, not away. The people that no one else want to talk to, the folks that people are afraid to talk to, the people that people avoid on the streets, those are the very ones that they go out and talk to. And let me be clear about one thing. Baltimore's strength lies in our communities and everyone who wants to see our city thrive. We all know, that, Uncle T said it, public safety, he said it a different way, doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? Everything is connected. So we have to be connected if we're going to be able to tackle this issue in a sustainable way that has been around. Uncle T's a little older than me, since Uncle T was out running the streets. We are now doing it in a collective way together, and we can't stop now. We've made too much progress working in this way for us to turn away and do it ways that we know doesn't work. That's our mission. Our mission is continue to move forward, continue to do the tough work, continue to reach those folks who many think are unreachable and, as Uncle T said, are unsavable. We will try to reach everybody before we bring law enforcement. But for those, again, who don't want to be reached, that's your choice. We're going to bring the love, and sometimes that love is going to be tough love. But we're all going to continue to work together as we double down on these efforts to continue to drive down violence in Baltimore. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll take questions.
So one of the things Director Mavronis mentioned was that there have been challenges and you've worked through them. What are some examples of challenges you've had in this last 2.5 years, and how have you adapted?
Well, I think that a few things. One, we're literally creating an office during the middle of a global pandemic when no one knew what the next month was going to look like, let alone the next few years. And you're building literally the plane while you're flying, because this is an issue that we had to focus on because of how long it's been impacting the city of Baltimore. But when you think about that, I'll give you a perfect example. We had to delay, and Terrence will know about this, the start of GVRS, not because we weren't ready from the law enforcement side. We did this the right way. We actually had studies done to see who are the people we should be focused on. And when we started in the Western, if I asked you or anybody else in the public, normally they would say, if we should focus on the group, what is the age range? Folks would say, oh, 18 to 24-year-olds. It was actually 30 plus. There were no community organizations focused solely on that age group. So we had to build it in order for it to happen. And that isn't something that comes across easy in a press conference or from a politician or elected official saying that this thing that we told you was going to start this day has to delay. But as I said, on December 8th of 2020, when I took office, I was going to always tell the truth and do the right thing, not the popular one. The popular thing would have been to start the program with community organizations and people who weren't ready to work with that group. And we know what would have happened. We would have failed. And that popular thing would have been even less popular had we failed. And that's why we did it this way. And we're going to continue to build in that way because we're building it the responsible way. I was in City Hall the last time the group violence reduction strategy failed. I had a first-hand seat to seeing why it failed. It failed for a few reasons. And I'm not just saying this because they put it in the thing, in the results. Number one was lack of executive leadership. Number two was that they weren't vested in the community side of it, only in the public, in the law enforcement side.
You're next to the afro.
Director Mavronis, you said that work is already being done on the youth justice pillar. Can you explain exactly how that's happening?
Sure. Thank you for that. So in the plan, one of the things that I'd encourage everyone to look at, every single action and goal that you see in that plan has a status next to it, either completed, in progress, or pre-implementation. You'll notice, if you compare it to the original plan, a few things that are in that youth justice pillar are things that we've been working on. So you see some of our work to increase opportunities around youth diversion as one example. That's work we've started, but it's work that we're really going to double down on. And so in this plan, we've added some additional actions and goals to that youth justice pillar to really reflect the fact that this has to be named as one of our central and top priorities. But lots of detail is also included in the plan about those specifics as well.
And I'll just add, I mean, there's so many things that are already in action. One of the things that we've done as a result of the work that Dr. D and I have the group doing, so we started last winter of 2023, Youth Violence Stat, where we wanted to come together with our partners in the school system, DGS, and others to have like focused case management for young people that were at high risk. And we found out that we couldn't share information. So what did we do? This year we went to Annapolis, did the work of getting legislation passed so that we can actually do that work. And that's the way that you have to work in order to handle tough issues like that, because we don't just get to go out and do what we want because we're city government. We still have to follow the proper rules and regulations and being able to work with our partners in that deep way. And we know that that work is going to pay dividends now that we can have that focus.
Here's the banner.
Question for the commissioners. The on-ramp for getting GVRS into the Eastern, I think, has been the quickest of any district so far. Can you speak to some of the steps the Eastern has taken to prepare for this, and then how smoothly is the transition going at this point?
Yeah, basically every district is learning and implementing the group violence reduction strategy. So just because the group violence unit isn't in the Eastern yet, they were doing case reviews and enforcement last year when Lieutenant Colonel Thacker was the major there, and it's continued with Major Iwaro. And every district, the transition should be easier as we move forward because the commanders have all bought into it and realized that it works and they want it in their districts. So most of the districts are already doing the work, they just don't have the rest of the resources there yet.
Right here next to the banner. Sorry, I don't know your neighbor outlet. Do you have questions? Then we'll jump back to WBAL.
Okay, this is sort of a two-parter. So it is in the Eastern District now, okay. So what I would like to know is what's going to be happening in the Eastern District along the lines of this expansion? And for the mayor, you all threw a lot of information at us, but what do we want to share with the public about your biennial, whatever it is?
Yes, ma'am. It's a mouthful. I was looking at all the acronyms, so even the acronyms are too long. But But a couple of things, Ms. Lisa, that I will say to you. One, in the Eastern, and I actually can take both of them. It'll be just like it is in the Western District. The folks who are at the most highest risk of being the victims or perpetrators of gun violence, those are the people we'll focus on. We will be offering services. They will be getting those letters from me that says, hey, this is Mayor Brandon Scott. I know who you are. I know what you do. I want you to stay alive for you and your family. We will give you every resource you can imagine to change your life. If you need housing assistance, we'll help you. Education, job training will help you. Substance abuse will help you. Whatever you need, we'll help you. But if you don't, then you're going to feel the full weight of law enforcement. That's what's going to happen, as it's happened in every district across the city. Just we were in Morrill Park and talking about takedowns there. Those are people who ignored our call to change their life. That's going to happen here, and it'll happen in all those other districts as we move throughout the city. And your second question, I think, is one, that we're updating it. I made a public commitment when I laid it out in 2021 that we would do that, in late 2021 that we would do that. And two, highlighting all the work that has been done. It is no small feat that we went from years of 300 plus homicides to see a 20% reduction and then have a 32% reduction on top of that. I think that even understanding that we have a long way to go in Baltimore, the residents of Baltimore need to hear that, because we know in our city sometimes all we hear is the negative. We don't hear about the positive things that are happening. We don't hear about the progress that are happening. For example, we had an announcement today about the mayor's attendance challenge for public schools. We don't hear that attendance is up in Baltimore City public schools and chronic absenteeism is down. But if it was the opposite, we would hear it each and every day. If homicides were up 32%, we would hear it all day, every day. We have to tell this version of this truth as well.
Thank you.
Box 35.
Back when this was announced that the Eastern was the next district that was coming, I think it was in February when that announcement was made in terms of the expansion of GVRS, there was some questions raised about why Eastern was picked, given the progress that we were already seeing in terms of the violent crime reducing in this area. There was also some criticism saying that it was low-hanging fruit for you, given the election that was coming up. So did that factor into the decision to expand it into the Eastern?
Yeah, let me first start by saying no, Mackenzie. I'll say this once again. I don't play politics with public safety. Other folks might choose to do that. You might choose to do that. I'm not. We expand GVRS based on the data, the connectivity of the groups. And when you understand and know public safety in Baltimore, but more importantly, the streets of Baltimore, anybody will tell you once you've done the west side, the east side is where you have to go. And that's why we're doing it that way, because the data shows us where to go next. Not me, not the police commissioner, not the state's attorney, not Director Mavronis, none of us on the leadership team who represent that partnership around GVRS. I want to remind you that GVRS is the mayor, the state's attorney, police commissioner, and MONSE as the principals for how we're going to, in partnership, put this strategy into place. We don't get to decide. The data tells us where to go, and the data is based on public safety, not politics.
WJZ.
I had two quick questions. So I believe, Director Mavronis, you said expanding GVRS to South Baltimore by the end of the year. Where are we in getting GVRS citywide? And then also just funding for all of this, especially in the plan. Are we looking at grants, other sources? Just where are we looking at for that?
So we laid out the plan of how we're going to unveil GVRS. It is in the Southern District by the end of this year, and I think the remaining ones are in the following year, that we will have it throughout the city of Baltimore. Listen, right now, GVRS is going to be funded. We're going to do that in any way that we can. First and most importantly, with city tax dollars, because when you have a strategy that you know is working, and the residents will support you spending on that strategy. We're even talking about budget enhancement to help with GVRS. We are blessed to have the best federal delegation to the United States Congress in these United States of America. they are also bought in on this strategy and are continuing to support this. We know that up through the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and the president himself, they all understand how a Baltimore strategy is working. It's very frequently I am called to D.C. to talk to other mayors. For example, we had the U.S. Conference of Mayors in D.C. this past winter. And if you were to tell anybody 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that the mayor of Baltimore City and the mayor of St. Louis and then the mayor of Kansas City and the mayor of Chicago would be sitting alongside the ATF director, and those would be the mayors talking to the other mayors across the country about how to reduce violence in their city, people would tell you that you're lying. But that's what happens now, because we are seen nationally as a city that's leading on how to reduce violence, but do it in a complete and collective way, not just law enforcement, community, hospital, everyone together.
Anybody who I missed?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm one of the community of faith leaders
Yes, sir.
who support this effort. I'd like to know how many other community of faith are supporting you in this effort in the city of
I don't know if I can count them. There are a lot, but we need more, sir. And we thank you for your support. We know that our faith leaders around the city have been supportive, community leaders around the city that have been supportive. We know the gentleman sitting to your right is supportive, but we want to continue to grow that so that everybody is bought. The more people that are involved in this work at the community level, forget about at the city government level, working at the community level, working with these organizations, and we all tie that in, the city will continue to become safer and safer. Thank you very much, everybody.